Hey, welcome everybody to Battle Pirates Crib. Today we're going to talk about Spring Reckoning. My, I don't know, sort of a mechanic change that's really only impacts a couple of ships and a couple of specials, and we'll get into that. And besides that, there's not much going on this week. Sort of like last week and the week before. Too bad we didn't get the Siege Destroyer TLC at some point earlier, but oh well. Let's say hello to everybody. Pegleg,
Greetings.
Magic Mike,
Hello, all.
TSM.
I'll say, yeah, 3 minutes past. I'll say good morning, everybody.
Okay, very good. All right, let's get moving, Mike. The slides. There we go. Weapons that can be targeted by both anti-mortars and anti-penetrative countermeasures, such as UAVs, were not using the correct evasion. Instead, flak evasion was being used against both. Historically in the game, it was always, at least forward facing, all these things were called flak evasion. One more click. At some point, how long ago, does anybody remember when they switched flak evasion to, or they changed flak evasion to anti-mortar and flak evasion, anti-penetrative evasion?
That was about when they confused themselves, wasn't it?
I don't know when this happened. I don't, because mortars haven't really, they're not included with the Everest, so I haven't really, there's no, and then they showed up in the Hellswarm, and I'm not sure when it was done because it was, I don't follow the, some of the intricacies of the Conquerors as much as I do the PVE ships. So, I'm just curious if anybody remembers about when they did this. I just don't, not an exact date, but I don't think they really announced it in such a way.
Well, that's half the issue, isn't it? Because obviously, I mean, before swarms, obviously, and most people when they built their swarms built UAV swarms because they were more effective than actually using the mortar. And then before that, when was the last time we actually had something that could fire mortars that was actually beneficial of actually building? So it's been an awful long time. So if it wasn't done around the time the swarms came in, then it was done a considerable long period of time ago, or in a period of lull when it didn't make a difference anyway. So it might have snuck in.
Yeah, it should have been. As like we're going to talk about a couple of other things. They haven't had a GD diary. I would like that kind of thing to be in the GD diary, along with what we're going to talk about with the priority. That should have been explained in a much more concise manner, a longer form, so everybody understood what it actually was they were talking about. And I did get some clarification on that, but what the original, what was released out of the box was not great. So
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If we're done with bug fixes, I think we'll move on to the calendar. All right, we're at the end of this calendar. Bloody Frenzy, which is great for people that are not caught up with your Overlord carrier or your piranhas. So those are the that's worth doing for that. I think I've got 3 piranhas built and my Overlord carrier is done, so it's not really something for me. And if I was some sort of completionist and I wanted to rack up tokens, I really don't like the Zealot targets.
No, they take far too long.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but if you are behind, if you're a player that's lagging along, whatever, and you're not a spender, it's a way to keep yourself, trailing that top wave of base technology at least.
Yeah,
somewhat current.
Yeah, well, I think even the top end of the top end at least has the Overlord carrier in their base, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. And so this provides both the tech for it and build tokens. So it's definitely worth doing. And I still think some of the top end bases are still using piranhas, um, even though a lot of people out there think they suck. But you know, things change and whatnot. But
It's not quite like bell bottoms that come back around and get popular again. It's not been gone that long because they aren't that old. But I did notice in Bounty, there were some bases out there that people have got a nasty combination of combining piranhas with badgers, and when those things unleash together, it's a surprising level of damage they can do.
yeah, I never took mine out. So I think I did have two at one point in my base, but I've gone down to one personally. One more click, Mike. Alrighty. And I'm not even going to talk about the Mega, the Titanic Ascension. Next week is the other thing. Well, the thing to remind you about this week is it's in the FM. Keep all your tokens. Save up your chests for use in the April 14th raid. So you can get your Ravagers out. You have the maximum number of tokens to get your Ravagers out for VXP weekend, which starts the 23rd of April. So this is the time to save them all. The FM that just started an hour ago, that's the one we're referring to. Next week we have Pillage and the Siegebreaker TLC, which I don't know. Everybody that listens to the show, I've already complained about it enough that we had 3 weeks for PVE strictly players. We had 3 weeks of nothing besides the FM. I do not like this combination. And if you read through the rest of this calendar, following up the rest of the month, we're going to have it again in May. They're going to put that combination together where we get all of our upgrade tokens, build tokens, and at that point we're going to be getting the flagship for the Ravager all at the same time, which the combination of downtime the rest of the time and then you're rushing to get everything done in a single week is not optimal. I just wish they would change it back to where they, in this case, moving to the future, the Ravager specific TLC would be earlier on, either during VXP weekend, right after the raid, or the following week during Bounty.
Do you not think though that look at the March dates, April dates and stuff. I mean, the fact that we can do 2 ships to repair at any one time, one being PvP and one being PvE. So why not have the Siege breakthrough this week? Because obviously we've got Spring Reckoning to get through, and that's obviously PvE ships. And then you could be fixing, from the TLC. It's just frustrating. There's not much. Next week we've got Pillage, and Pillage is really. Sorry, from the 4th we've got Pillage, which is really important for people who are catching up. At the same time, there's a Siege TLC where why didn't they actually put a PvP TLC in that period there? Because then people could have partaken in that, get those ships fixed, and then switch to Pillage, and then vice versa sort of stuff. It would have made far more sense, I think.
And it certainly would have been more player friendly.
Yeah, because like I said, I've been saying, I've been playing other games. Just because there's nothing really to do in the game, I auto 163s, and then check in when my builds are done. And this will be after this week. It'll be 3 weeks of that, and so it's at least having that TLC to do provides you something to do, as opposed to going on and I'm playing 25-year-old video games just because That's what I've chosen to do because there's just nothing to do in the game. So,
And it is surprising because they've talked, well, the crew that was around, they did talk about the measuring of player engagement and activity and so
mhm.
forth, and how they were, watching that supposedly all the time. Take it for what it's worth. But clearly, like you say, when they do a scheduling thing like this, player engagement does have to suffer. You got to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, next week those top level players that have already got. I mean, there'll be some in pillage, obviously, but those top level players that have got everything they need, or really aren't interested in PVE and that sort of stuff. What are they going to be doing next week? Well, they're not going to be doing Return to Honor TLC for a start. They're probably not going to do the Siege Breakthrough because they don't care. So there's nothing to do. At least if there was a random TLC or something that had something PvP related to it, they might take an interest in it and top up some tokens or something. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
it just seems odd.
Yeah, because we still have time. Because I have my fourth reclaimer going to X1. I'm going to start upgrading an Everest. I mean, I'm not, I do buy the U3 deal, but I'm not, I don't do anything else. So, I mean, other people have bought the Everest deal, so they don't have anything to do. And they bought the U3 deal, so there's like nothing for them to do. But at least for me, yeah, I still want the tokens from the Siegebreaker TLC.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, I'm going to upgrade my Everest because we're going to get 5 upgrade tokens from the Siegebreaker TLC and another one in for just showing up at the pillage. So that's 6 days at a 6 days, 17 hours. So I will just wait for those 6 days of tokens and wait for my last ship. So in the meantime, I'm going to be working on another Everest that will get to U3 before pillage.
Not only that, but in Spring Reckoning, there's 5 one-day tokens available. It's the only thing of true value in the whole thing, probably.
5 days of what?
1-day reclaimer upgrade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I may not even. Yeah, I mean, so now Siegebreaker TLC becomes irrelevant.
And actually, as I glance at that, they've got industrial reclaimer tokens for 1 day as well. 5 of those. Hello.
Yeah. So yeah,
And that's a rarity.
That's a real big rarity.
Having the flag tokens, that's a good thing, but that's a super rarity. It's a very good thing, though. That'll help people out.
Yeah. So yeah, it's too bad. I could have probably got 2 Everest done and got all of them to U3. Yeah, if I'd known this information, a little bit earlier. But oh well. All right. If we don't have anything else in the calendar, we can move a step forward. All righty. What we have here is what was released in the forums explaining the change to priority targeting. The word threat is used a lot in here. It's not well defined. And the next slide, I've got a further explanation from Kixeye on what it means, and it's quite limited. The other thing that we are going to be discussing is priority targeting. And I'm just going to let everybody read this because I find this to be a little overly confusing because we don't, as players, we don't know what the definition of threat is because it conjures all sorts of things in your mind, and it's actually quite limited. As far as I know, it pretty much only involves the subjugator and the basilisk. So let's take one more click so we can see some of the aspects involved. On the left-hand side are the 4 specials or weapons that provide what we priority targeting or alternate weapon AI. We have the priority targeting, which great. targets the lowest health ship and ignores fully submerged subs. Okay. And then we have smart warheads, which does the same thing. They both provide accuracy. Smart warheads provides additional accuracy at additional weight, but it also provides penetrative range and damage. And
so Happy, it's just worth mentioning. Obviously, those are turret specials.
Yes.
Just for those uneducated or those that have forgotten, and just put them into the back of their minds because they haven't used them for so long. But yeah, they are going to come to the forefront a little bit now because they are good for the HT turrets that particularly want to be utilized for preventing subjugates and basilisks. So.
Yeah, because we'll explain how this all works on the next slide. But these are turret specials. The hierarchy mortar. If you look at weapon AI, this is the mortar that you get for the Overlord carrier. It targets within its range the lowest health ship. So I just want to get everybody educated on what the different aspects are. And then the other one is the tactical radiation dampener, which is the radioactive thing, a mega weapon that sits on top of your outpost. And it has a weapon AI that targets the furthest ship away. So those are things that are modifying the threat versus proximity equation that we're going to get, or not equation, but threat versus proximity that we're going to get into a little bit later. On the right, we have what I think is the only pairing that really gets into what's going on here with the priority targeting change. It's the subjugator with the basilisk. If you look at the flavor text, the new advancement in Scourge technology will draw fire away from the allied basilisk while dishing out powerful debuffs with the affliction UAV. And then you look at the stat block, affected hulls are less likely to be targeted, but bonus effect applied to each basilisk in the fleet. So they are, the way you read this, I think, is for a range of 90, basilisks get plus 50 explosive damage, projectile speed of plus 50, and they have their threat decreased. I was doing air quotes in case anybody, but that's where this whole threat thing comes in. But that's what hulls are less likely to be targeted. So let's go to the next slide and read through what I got from Kixeye. Threat is a generic value assigned to all ships. Currently, all ships have the same threat by default. However, certain things modify the threat level. For example, the subjugator's aura reduces the threat level of the basilisks. Okay. Previously, a weapon would prefer a target that had a higher threat level. So by the basilisk threat level being lower, now the subjugator has a higher threat level. So those are going to be fired at preferentially as long as they are in range, as opposed to being in closer proximity. Okay, and that now we have these the AIs that we talked about, either the priority targeting, the smart weapons, whatever that we were talking about, that will ignore this threat level and fire at whatever the AI tells it to, whether it's lowest health, furthest ship, or those are the two opportunities that we've seen. So to better improve the interaction between threat and weapon AI and better allow the use of threat on future hulls. So I think that's the sort of the takeaway. We've given the weapon AI higher precedence, or the special AI higher precedence. So this is a move to the future, because the look to the past is not that huge because it's just these two, the interaction between these two ships, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, and I believe you do. And the other part of it is it finally for PvP kind of puts the basilisk to bed. Which, there's a lot of people that in designing bases, they're always still trying to factor in the super range of the basilisk or the basilisk. I can't talk now, and make their base anti-preppable from those things or so forth, within the terms of one hit and so forth. And this should, I think TSM, I think you commented it on the post you put up on TFC. This should give back some land flexibility to players without actually adding land tiles to the game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there is a small percentage of people that will still be able to make some shifty moves and that sort of stuff, but you should be able to regain. The maximum sort of range you got to worry about now is sniping at 120-ish, maybe 130 if they do beach them. But yeah, the 10 tile concept is going away. And Kickstarter were going to do this anyway. They didn't want to give us any more tiles because it makes the game really complex for them to produce it into a normal web size page. So by killing off the tier 8 ships, subjugating the basilisk, they've actually removed the threat via different means, and that means is actually by killing off ships that can breach the 10 tile range and taking it down to 120. They've just given you back a series of tiles from at least 3 fronts that you can utilize elsewhere.
Yep.
Except for there's sort of a stipulation in there that you would need to use one of these specials or weapons.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's not. Yeah, don't just do it without doing something else. But so if you're going to have a rear facing, let's just say you've got one of the new mortars and you put it slightly further forward in the base of the arc, which is quite wide, covers a good arc at the back end of your base, then actually, yes, it will take out the subjugator first, but it won't take very long because it's not a very strong ship. And then obviously it will take out the basilisk, so the basilisk might get a couple of volleys off, but actually it's not enough if you've got the right, the new armors particularly on your rear turrets and your OP. The basilisk won't be able to take it out in time. It shouldn't be able to do that.
And the other one, it really depends on your base configuration. The Overlord carrier is targeting the lowest health ship, and it has the range is 300.
Yeah, because the inner arc's 150, isn't it? So is it 150 and then 3? It's the mortar it's the mortar that's got the range, isn't it? So
yeah, the mortar has the range. So, and the mortar is one step back, Mike.
Yeah, I posted the special. I'm trying to think where it is now.
It's doing lowest health, but I think once you put everything together on the ship, it has a range of around 300. So in my base, where I have my Overlord carrier currently positioned, it doesn't cover the back of my base.
Mine covers all sides now.
Okay. So that you're in a that's in a good situation. All you would need to do is for other people is move your Overlord carrier that has the hierarchy mortar on it. The more complicated thing would come in regards to, as you were mentioning earlier, putting either probably most likely priority targeting on a turret that is facing one of these directions, the back of your base. And so it's going to be firing at the basilisk, the weaker of the two ships, and taking it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and obviously what it did work before was the subjugator just slightly ajar from the basilisk, but obviously with that mortar and the splash you can get up to as well, you probably end up wiping both of them out with the spread of the mortars anyway, and the splash as well. You probably end up whacking both ships, to be honest.
Okay.
You wouldn't take many hits. I mean, I've not done it myself, but I've not got into tier 10 turrets yet, to be honest. I'm still utilizing tier 9 ones. But
okay. And there's no 360 turrets that would do damage that would be worth it, right?
No, I mean, the only thing I was thinking about was, and I've not even put them in, is those UAV turrets, but obviously they were quite far back ago now. I don't know what the absolute maximum output of those is. I don't think they have enough.
They don't have enough pop, really. No.
I don't think so. No, I can imagine the new mortars. I know, like Venom, for example, he's got mortars in his base, and he was having some fun over bounty. And obviously, his basis has become exceptionally powerful now because obviously the basilisk was always a threat to many people, and now you haven't got to worry that so much about protecting the rear, by volume of C inside your base, as opposed to actually utilizing it for making things. And what's nice now, obviously we've got the missile turret, which could actually come into its own now, even though not many people have been using it, and the mortar. So those that actually do fire over mountains, both of those two, actually brings your mounting into effect now as well, which means you can put your mountains actually in the way of people coming towards you, and actually you can stop them at long range from actually coming in at the front end and trying to pepper out some of your shorter range turrets, because actually, they normally sit still and things like the UAVs and that sort of stuff, because feeling confident that they couldn't be hit. Well, now they can.
Right.
And stacking those mortars when you need at least 3, I reckon. At least 3. 4 is ideal, but 3 you can get away with. That your swarms are not going to sit there very long at all. They'll be annihilated, and then nothing else really apart from those is suitable to fire over the mountains anyway. So whilst you can't fire at them, they can't fire at you either. So it's definitely made base hitting that was hard considerably harder again, I think.
If you're using the basilisk and the subjugator.
Yes. Yeah. But that's, I mean, a lot of people still hadn't got basilisk, believe it or not, because I know a couple of my alliance that still didn't actually ever get to them, and we're looking at trying to find where the blueprint was in the last bounty, and it wasn't there, Well, I can see why they're not going to put it out now, because why get them to build something, and actually then kill it off a week later. So in some respects, I'm glad it wasn't in bounty now.
Well, I mean, the worst example was the Visagos Punisher, where they tried to sell it to everybody as the mid-level solution, and it was never good.
Mm.
You remember that one?
Well, it's almost as bad as the Rage and the Rainer Rage, which we've got, and then 2 weeks later they decided it was far too powerful. They changed the mechanics of that.
Oh, and what was the? And there was the countermeasure special that also provided.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Where they canceled that one 24 hours later, and they removed the turret defense. I think it was 66 or 75, and they put it back down to 50. But yeah, not the first time.
No, but I mean, we all sort of, I've spoken to Snoops and a few others. Like, we knew this cull was coming. It's been predicted for a while. But I don't, and I agree with you. I don't think the mechanics of the explanation was suitable for all players. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because of the word threat. Because the word threat does not show up anywhere. So
in any of our stats,
yeah, any of our stats, anything that's been discussed with us, threat is not a word that they use. So I'm like,
it just needs a simple chart, doesn't it? Yeah, this take into account this was the old method. It used to do this and this and this, and now actually, this is priority 1, this is priority 2, and this is priority 3, and that's the order of the effect. And then actually just have a new chart saying this one's now jumped to the top, and that's all they needed to do really. Was just go, oh, this one's no longer 3, it's now number 1. So actually anything you do, this stipulates now and takes priority.
Yep.
And it'd be quite easy to go back to through, and you're right, there's only of those particular ones there. I can't find, I've had a good look, and I've looked through any holes that may be relevant as well, but I was trying to find some of the special, and it's not about priority targeting, because this is how the game conducts its math, basically, because it's a math game anyway, priority targeting or not, it's a math game. So I've been trying to look for other specials that aren't related to priority targeting, but I have got a mechanic in them that impact on output and damage, or resistance and damage, and that, to see if there are other specials that this way that the equation's being put together, if it's going to impact other things in the game in different areas. And that's going to take a little while to understand, but I bet there are some things somewhere, because this isn't just because of priority targeting. This is the way the stats have been put up, and way the formula has been put together now. It's not just about priority targeting. And this will impact the future game.
Yes, in the future, and it may impact the raid. I don't know. We don't know what the NPC targets have in regards to this.
No, and that was part of my point that I raised, and yeah, that Dennis did the right thing there. This could, and this needs to be sort of spread out pretty wide and fast amongst all the player base, even those that don't watch this show or have a copy on TFC or anything at all, but at least have someone as a friend of theirs in the game to say, yeah, I know you're a Bassets player and that sort of stuff, and you've got subjugators. You may want to consider hovering over the exit button very quickly when you go into some of the kickside targets for the next bounty, particularly those that have got overlords in, because they could be offline for some time fixing a fleet where they normally go in and just go, yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this because they're not going to target me, and I've got one trencher and it's going to sit in the corner. All of a sudden, it's going to go horribly wrong very quickly.
Well, I was more thinking something like the Reclaimers, the next raid. Like, the NPC, the targets we're attacking may have, they may have some funky stuff that we never knew. Because,
yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
And that's why I was, in my discussions, I was trying to like, what is this actually impacting right now? I didn't really get a clear answer, but those things could also be impacted where it's going to be, we see it's lowest health, furthest, because the normal priority / threat is proximity, how close you are. But we don't know what's written on those things, and ever since the Dark Alliance went down. But yeah.
So the other thing that interests me as well is obviously mega ships are classed as mobile bases, and they work the same way. So with priority targeting in now and the mechanic, basically mega ships take out the closest turret first normally. I wonder if it's going to change the mechanics for that at all. Probably not. I'm hoping not, because there's not much priority targeting going on anyway. But it's definitely a case of reading through the prints, or can you add some stuff to some of the prints to make an impact on that? I don't really know, but
I have to admit, as soon as it involves megas, I kind of tune out because I don't do anything.
But when people start using, particular things, and obviously, particularly in Bounty, when it gets to that sort of stage where the megas are up and playing and that sort of stuff in the Golden Nexus,
the ally
stuff, and then it does start having an impact, on some of the bigger alliances. So, whilst not many people do a great deal of mega stuff, like I said, mine sits in the background, just clocking up numbers, but doesn't actually engage in anything at all. It's it's great for getting VXP targets for conquest. That's what I like it for. But it may have other impacts. This one single change could impact other areas of the game, and it certainly will be something that's going to change the concept of the game going forward for those specific type of set of math equations, basically. So
yeah, intended or unintended.
And there's always some consequences that people don't realize, and that's including the Kickstarter employees, because it's happened before many times.
Many times, yeah.
So we'll see. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, but if the NPC targets have priority target and everything, build one target. Yeah, but we're going to the last raid of the cycle. And then I would be upset by that if they just all of a sudden change the mechanic, and we don't have any knowledge that the NPC targets have this mechanic built in, because we don't have that much knowledge on them besides our previous experience, and our previous experience was with another mechanic. So I would be upset if they did something like this. This would not be player friendly.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Ninja's put it there in the comment. Is what if all of a sudden your countermeasure ship, which doesn't have the built-in extra armor points because obviously it doesn't have the number of weapons on it, all of a sudden, because it's the lowest health ship, it's then getting smashed, and all of a sudden then you lose completely your countermeasure ship, and that means the rest of your fleet gets smashed. That's the potential. Of such a thing, because 9 times out of 10, most weapons also bring extra armor points, and the fact that the countermeasures don't generally bring extra armor points, and they've all got the same number of armors on each ship and that sort of stuff, your countermeasure ship is normally the one that's then at threat.
It does occur to me that there is a PvE target that we have another priority targeting in that we haven't mentioned. In the
Garrison?
garrison targets,
Yeah.
what is it called? King Killer, King Target, or
Oh
something.
yes, good point.
Yeah.
And that's on those brimstones, I believe.
Yeah.
But then again, there's nothing masking one Everest from another. There's no way to destroy it, to hide it that way. So I don't think there's an impact there, but there's another kind of priority targeting.
Yeah.
Or weapon AI, maybe.
Yeah,
Be proper
AI.
here,
Yeah.
1,000 lashes with a wet noodle. Peg used the wrong thing.
Okay. Well, if we're done with this, I'm trying to think. 1 second. CM Diary, Spring Reckoning. Okay. I guess we can move on. And
I'm ticking away at my FM in the background here.
okay. Oh, no. Back. You went too many. All right. Just so everybody remembers, in the raid, we're getting the Ravager, the Spleen Blaster Scattergun, what I'm considering the engine, the Zinth bolstered bow.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and and is anybody at home? You can do this by yourself. Do a Google image search for Spleen Blaster, and the funny thing is, it only shows like 20 images, and 10 of them are kickside. So Spleen Blaster, as one word, has not really been used that much on the internet. So just because I was trying to come up with something amusing.
You were expecting some sort of twisted medical technology.
Well, you think so, wouldn't you? You bust a spleen, It's,
I was expecting, some sort of nutritional supplement. I did find a pill that's called raw spleen that you can take.
sounds delightful.
Yeah. So, but as far as Spleen Blaster, no, not much going on there. And so, okay, well, thanks, Lego. I'm just making sure because some of it could just be flying by people as far as what they're actually doing, because
there's going to be more comments on that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it'll catch some people out without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to remind you, everybody, what's coming. This is what's going to be in the raid.
Look out for your spleens. Yeah.
And we assume the acid effusion shells are going to be in the FM the week afterwards, because that's why they added in the word preview. Not got any feedback on that one. So let's look at the next one. All right, Spring Reckoning. Bottom right-hand corner, it's your tropical mountain. I mean, does it feel tropical to you? I mean,
it looks more like an algae.
Didn't we have a sort of Hawaii-styled one not that long ago?
That was with the mutts, wasn't it?
It seems like we had a tropical themed one that had some flowers on it and so forth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Hawaii type thing.
The banana boats and things, wasn't it?
Yes.
But this could be off the coast of Hawaii, or this could be off the coast of Scotland.
Scotland, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like algae more than trees, but it's maybe just my refresh rate and my pixelation on my monitors. I don't know.
Yeah, so it could go either way. Spring has sprung. It's time for Spring Reckoning. I did call it the Spring Fling in the show, which I don't know. At least in the U.S., that was like one of the high school dances.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. This special target contains a updated T10 Siege co-op target, so for your Reclaimer X target, and an updated T10 Siege A target. It starts tomorrow at 3:00 Kicks time, 6:00 my time. Ends on Sunday. The tip was keep friendly turrets alive to use them to draw fire and aid with destruction of roving turret platforms, which we did on the last one. Keep opening Spring Reckoning chests to collect new Shredder Ronin skins Oh, the news. Yeah, I didn't put the picture out there. The Tropical Mountain Skin plus tons of great Tier 9.5 skirmish and Tier 10 siege prizes. So it'll be interesting to see what actually shows up. It is a little bit odd that they're pushing the Ronin skin over the Reclaimer skin. I'm not quite sure why that is.
Saving
I'm
Reclaimer
assuming-
skin for prize redemptions in the event? I don't know.
Yeah. We're gonna put the skins in on their final day. If we put that in the raid, okay, yeah, they're no longer really useful besides TLCs, and now we have a skin for them.
Maybe there'll be a pillage prize.
That could be.
Yeah, I have other theories.
Could be a pillage prize, or it could just they forgot, and it's easy, just as you said, to recolor the skins they've already got, because that's basically what's happened.
Yeah.
I think your original thought.
Well, that was pre-show. I don't think we did that on the show, but yeah. So I don't know, Mike. Do you have the ability to port over there at this point, or?
Yeah, I just have to stop this one and share the other.
Okay. I mean, and to be fair, this skin they're bringing out, it's a nice looking skin for what it's worth. If the appearance of your ships is really all that big of a deal to you,
I wanted it right away. Mine is the reason I like skins is to tag a ship. This is a different ship. This is my tank. This is my whatever. And then, if we start getting those after they're no longer in the raid, they have no use to me.
I always tag the flag a different color, just so I know which one, which is generally my counter.
Yeah. Right.
All right. There we go, Mike.
I'm sorry, I forgot to go on mute.
It's okay. All right. Let's go through Spring Reckoning. I think I covered the highlights. Is anybody seeing spring in this picture? I'm trying to say it appears to be like a sniper shot.
It looks like Passchendaele gone wrong.
I don't know what Passchendaele is. Could you explain?
Those are Easter eggs exploding with joy.
I'm thinking Passchendaele, a battle from the First World War. So there we go. I'm just thinking it looks like a bloodbath to me.
Yeah. Okay.
See and the little colorful pieces of shell flying about there.
Yeah.
Or are these flower petals? I have no idea what's going on. Besides the only thing that I completely understand is that's definitely blood splatter. Yeah. I see one.
Well, that's the reckoning bit, isn't it?
A little shrapnel.
All right, so let's move down a little bit. We have the Ronin skin, which we brought up was a little bit more. Okay, it's the Ronin skin, which is yesterday's news.
I mean, let's be honest, the Ronin skin, forget the color because it's just a recolor, but the Ronin skin is one of the nicest skins they've done in a long time.
Yes.
It really is. They did a really good job of the actual shape of the skin, that sort of stuff, and it brought the game into looking quite future, sort of future facing. I quite like it, and actually it worked out really well, and it did work well with HTML5. I think it looks really good.
And it ties in the whole samurai type armor style to it very well.
Yeah, I have to say the art department I think has done particularly well with that particular ship.
To me, it reminds me. I don't know if anybody's been vacationing on the Carolina coast at any point. It looks like a brightly colored sea flea, that you can dig up from the from the beach. Yeah, and you could use them for bait for blues or croakers or spot because they all like to eat them. But it sort of looks like that with a lot of colors, and I don't know. That's the way I see it.
I can see the bug aspect.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. There's no bugs in this game whatsoever.
All right, let's move down a little bit further, Mike. All right, okay. So we have the 910. That's a co-op, which normally is never a co-op. So you get 20,000 for that, and then we have a a lower level target that's 5,000, so you get 4 times as much for the 910. 2 targets, both recommend the industrial reclaimer and 4 personal reclaimers, as I've called them. So I'm assuming a difference in damage. And the tips and tricks, I don't know. You can scroll down a little bit further, about half a page. Does anybody have any thing else you're seeing, except for the fact that if you hit the high level target, you can get 2 of the chest, or the industrial upgrade tokens, or the reclaimer upgrade tokens, personal upgrade tokens. You can get 2 for the high level target, and you can get you need to hit 2 of the targets of the lower level targets in order to get 1 of these. The 4 times difference in value.
I can see the ratio in some respects, because you're getting an extra bonus then from hitting the top one, because you're getting a better drop rate, or have a better value. So it's not just about getting points; it's also about what you get out of it from the, the tokens sort of like benefit from it. But yeah, the fact that it's co-op, is it shared? Does everybody get the same stuff, or is it shared amongst?
They've always made these co-op, but in reality,
they never have been.
Yeah, they just expect you to hit them on your own. They've been
just
doing.
Means you can drag somebody else in there as well if you want to, sort of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, the old days of having somebody sitting in the corner doing nothing and they get everything that you get as well. So those days are sort of gone. But
yeah. So all right, let's move. I don't know if there's much more here, Mike. Let's see.
Where's the birthday cake? I haven't seen that yet.
And
there's nothing about that from what I saw on Discord.
Oh, okay. It's a bit of a shame, but there we go.
Mike, do you want to switch back over and go to slide 8?
I need a minute.
Okay, it's all good.
The downside of this, because there was no way I expected in the filler event to see upgrade tokens for flag and stuff, is mine's currently upgrading to X1. So I've spent my tokens I happen to have for it, and I spent my kits. That's what the other thing I was looking for, and so it's tied up in the yard doing that. And here comes spring.
But you need it for spring reckoning to be able to get
Right.
the tokens to upgrade it.
Yep.
And you are already upgrading it.
Yep.
Hey, that's helpful.
Okay. What does everybody think about Bounty 42?
Bounty 42? It was a bit dull. I didn't see. I mean, yeah, the kickside targets. I think there was a couple of them that were a bit cheeky. Not many people managed. Yeah, they were a bit cheeky in some areas. Even the top players were, that would normally do the demos and that sort of stuff, were like taking quite a bit of damage. 3 to 4 coin, basically the fleet was virtually dead. And they're going, well, for those sort of points, that's not a bad return. But actually, for those individuals that, don't have the opportunity to do that, then you're down to the grind, and then you're down to, getting something that's worthwhile for someone to come and hit your base. And then you've got to be on for the next 4 hours, haven't you, as ever, to get something to stack away, at least try and get to the 10K point, So peak of pirates. So I did a quick video as I have done the last sort of 5 or 6 bounties, I think, roughly, where I did I grabbed a snapshot of all the people that hit me. Considerably less hit me this time, and like I said, I don't have any T10 turrets in my base at all yet, because I don't find that I need them just yet. And I think I managed to get 6 people to actually do a proper try and do a proper hit. From the various big alliances that were in there in the world I was in, sort of stuff, I was down in.
Yeah, I had, I think, 8.
15, 16. And everybody else just peaked and left, As soon as they saw that there was at least one, badger in there, and obviously, and the gates were upgraded, which I've done, and my saw factory is now at level 2 at last. So, which I mean, a couple of people did have a go in, and I've put all the mines in now, and I think I've got them fairly reasonably placed for the moment for this particular design, and yeah, it didn't go well for anybody, to be honest. I didn't cherry pick which base hits I was getting hit with. I showed 4 or 5 different fleets, I think. 3 or 4 of them had coined the second 2 ships, and came in with a stack of 5. Someone did it in sort of like in a follow them in one after the other in a convoy, and some people multi-stacked, but neither seemed to work out very well for either of them. So it worked much better than I thought it was going to be honest. I was quite surprised how much difference it is when you do the multiplication of the Badger working, the mine working, that sort of stuff, the gates being stronger, and placement of some of the turrets. I was quite surprised how well I stood up. I was expecting to have a more balanced video this month, with the fact that obviously we were able to get a full 5 ships now. That didn't turn out to be that way. So I'm quite surprised. I don't think it's going to help next month. I'm thinking unless they're bringing something out that we don't know about, a new Conqueror ship coming out, maybe that's got maybe missiles or launchers or something, so they haven't got to worry about mountains, or they haven't got to worry about certain issues that shooting through walls and that sort of stuff. But I don't envisage that happening personally, because that will break some of the mechanics they've been trying to promote for some time. So,
and that's always the concern too, is that you get bases sorted out on the top end, and they start being, you can't see my air quotes, but unbreakable with the current technology. Is that the next one that comes along breaks those wide open, and down the chain that they can't stop the current ones are ready to throw their hands up because now they can't stop anything. Period.
Yeah,
the cutting edge is always the cutting edge, but
yeah, and I did go out and peak 20 bases, hit about 6 on top of that, because I don't really do a great deal of basing anymore. I've sort of like gone off that, and I've got out of skill for that sort of thing personally. So yeah, I get my ally points, but I do the same as everybody else. I make a point of never hitting someone below level 100, but I certainly don't go out and pick the top level targets. I want to get them all done in one fleet, and then just go and repair the one fleet, and that's my ally points done. So I'm a bit of a lazy collector on ally points as well. So, but yeah, I don't mind going out and challenging the odd base, but as long as it's the last thing I do at the night, so I can fix the fleet overnight, then that's good enough for me, to be honest. But yeah, I noticed that probably 80% of bases had the same layout.
Yeah.
It's in design, that sort of stuff. There was very few. I even commented on a couple of people's, sent messages to say, nice to see a different base layout for a change, and a good base it was as well. So I did send a message to a couple of people just to see that they're doing good to see them do something different. But you can understand it for big alliances. They want to look after their medals, they want to look after their points and that sort of stuff. So if they find something that works, then why not all copy it? And until someone breaks it, then it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Then it's a monoculture that it gets,
Yes, yeah.
Everybody knows what happens to monocultures.
But I think at the moment we're in that realm of, bases are pretty much unbreakable again. I don't see anything.
Not everybody's, but yeah.
No. But in the main, for the big alliances and or for those individuals, some independents as well. If you've got the toys in your base, and we're getting to that era now where most people will be getting at least a bastion, if not 2 bastions up to run. The gate is almost free with base parts to put on anyway. And if they've managed to win those prizes, then they should be in a really strong position.
Which bastion? The Bastion 2?
Yeah.
You can fit it with you can fit the thing for free. If you take the old one off and then refill your base parts and then put it on, you do it instantly.
But you got to spend 18 days getting it to Portal 5,
right?
Right?
But that's the portal, yeah. I'm saying yes, but exactly. Don't forget that came out 2 months ago,
right?
But a lot of people are doing other stuff. To be honest,
depends on what you want to prioritize, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. If you're a PVE, you'll be prioritizing on the things that also do PVE. But if you're a PvP player, everyone's done their OP, obviously, because you got to first. Most people have done their dock, because everybody wants dock rate to get 5 ships in, whether it be PvP or PvE. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you've got 2 things to consider. You can either go Sword Factory level 1, which is quite quick to do, to be honest, and then I would go the Bastions, personally, and sod the rest of it.
Well, the portals.
But then, to get, you want to get to the Bastions, so to do that, you've got to do the portals 4 to 5. But some people might go, I don't care about PvE. I've got a couple of people in my alliance, that don't do any PvP whatsoever and that sort of stuff, and all they want to do is just run around on the PvE stuff, So actually, they're doing the upgrades on the buildings because it reduces their build and refit times. Yeah. So and their bases are still probably virtually square, and have been for like 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is, if you're interested in PvP, go level 1 on the Saw Factory, and then start working on the portal, or do you go to level 2 on the portal and then move on to the long upgrade times associated?
It's a catch-22 for me personally. For PvP, I like the Disruptor Mine linked in with a Bastion level 5, obviously portal at the front end. If that is just mildly outside, if you've got overlapping turrets anyway between mid-range and short range, if that is in the right place as a combination with a gatekeeper as well looking after it as an example, then it's quite difficult. And not a single, and the video I posted, you'll notice that from the bounty people that were hitting me, not a single ship can come in on its own and take down that first Bastion. It's not possible, because the combination of the effects that's happening to that single ship is just overpowering the ship coming in by itself. Okay. It takes a couple of ships to come in to do that.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like Saw Factory, 1 portal, and then go back to Saw Factory?
Yeah, probably, yeah, because I think you do. Once they get through it, which they will do, then you need the other ones in there, and it's the little green ones that do the 20 million damage and that sort of stuff. They're quite handy afterwards, because by that time the rest of the ships have generally come in. They started stacking and that sort of stuff, and you'll notice in the video that I keep moving the mines around because I've got quite a few slots I can put them, but I can put them into positions quite quickly, even after in between hits, and cause a bit of an upset sort of stuff if I'm online, obviously. But in general terms, you can slot things, and that's the difference between obviously the badges. You can have one that moves and one that's stationary. There are various different things you can do. So and that's a good point actually. They did have an upgrade if you choose to coin. I didn't get that because mine was done, but for 299 you could have done the whole lot, all 3. So I'm not sure that's the answer. That's not the answer, because obviously but it's better than doing 3 lots of 18 days or whatever it is, isn't it? If you're ever going to invest in PvP, I think doing the Bastion gates is probably if you were going to coin and say, do I coin it and upgrade the Salt Factory? Do I coin it and upgrade the Bastions? Then definitely the Bastions. Absolutely.
And then there's people like me that just accumulate tons of tokens to make it less of a pain point before they do it.
Because some people had 18 days of build tokens in various different guises for buildings before we got into
I had a lot of them that made the OP almost, well, not a blink of an eye, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
If you planned for this thing well in advance and stockpiled your tokens and didn't just spend them frivolously, took advantage of opportunities to get them, you made the whole OP and dock part of it a pretty quick deal.
Yeah, and with the TLCs, like doing your turrets 11 to 12, those 3-day updates, you can do the whole lot if you've got enough of those tokens. And I've still got 4 spare. You can do them all, and even the ones now putting on the base power, because you've got to get them up to level 12 as well. I've still got 4 tokens spare yet. And I've not, and that's just been from various events, just saving them up.
Yep.
So it is worthwhile, even if PvP is and PvE is a Norse doing some of the TLCs. But look at particularly the final rounds, and just see if there's just one thing. You don't need any of the tech, because you've got whatever it is. There was a TLC last week, I think it is, but there was still some of those 3-day tokens in there as well. So you can get because the good thing is they're not graded at different levels as well. So when it comes to going from 12 to 13, you'll be able to use those tokens again.
Yep.
So there is options,
Okay, KB, what was the origin of this?
Of what? The crap. Yeah, I just didn't like the way the targets went. You were pretty limited to just basically 2 targets to try and to get your points.
And I agree.
The higher level ones just wasn't worth it. What's the point in killing your buddy fleet for 3,000 points?
Okay. Yeah, I stopped the 97. I just kept smashing 97s. I plenty of them.
I was doing 97s and 122s.
Yeah, 97s and 65s. If I couldn't find 97, I'd quickly do a 65. It wasn't worth so many points, but it was a instant fixed on the C target anyway, so it didn't matter.
Was it easier than the 70?
I think so, yeah, because you don't have to stop. You just rush to the back where the overlord is, and then just kill it out, and then nothing else can kill you. Then you get no damage, and I was getting it for 2 to 3 minutes repair each one with three ships.
Okay, because I personally, when I saw that target, I was like, I don't know if I did.
It was quite weak, actually. They didn't obviously build the defending ships as strong as I thought they were going to.
Yeah, because my opinion was that this, if it was a regular player, next week they were going to be posting, they were going to be either turning the base tiles into a shape of a penis or taking the wall tiles and saying "fuck you" kicks. That's how that, at least I saw the way the level 70 was designed.
Yeah. I'd like to say I looked at the 70s and people looked at those before. I'm not saying any word about that, but from the points perspective, and the time it takes to do the targets, that was also important to me because I did quite a bit of prepping for other people as well. And it's the seat time. If you're running crews and that sort of stuff, and you've got to run around and the locator's not working properly, and that sort of stuff, you want to be wham bam, thank you, ma'am, done. And literally 2 minutes in each of those two targets, and you were back fixed on the sea again. For both of them, were instant fix on the sea with just 3 ships, and a speed crew, and it was done.
You must have a different game than me, because my locator never worked. I couldn't find a kick base in the locator at all.
No, I wasn't using a locator. I gave up on that, but I just zoomed my screen right out to sort of like 80%, so I've got quite a lot of I can see. And I can see 2 or 3 SSRBs at a time, sort of stuff, and then I can just about make it out if I put my glasses on what's around them, so I can just zoom from one to the other. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, I did some 122s. I was getting them for instant repair. The only trouble was it was taking me bloody 10 minutes to do it.
I was fortunate. I was doing 122s, but I could do them in one hit.
Well, I was using Basilisk.
I did as well. So. Basilisk with 3 exterminators, and you get it down, and you can knock them out one hit and go, and still be instant repair.
Yeah. Well, even when they put the badger in, it didn't make a difference.
So in the next bounty, that's not going to work, right?
Probably not.
Well, in the 122, it might, because what you're taking out with the Basilisk, the Basques, I can't ever say that right. I don't know why.
Yeah, the Basques, yeah.
Really, there wasn't anything shooting. It was all, you were just taking out all the heavy directional turrets on the OP was the big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still got the yellow radioactive thing that the outpost shoots.
But so long as that hasn't changed its priority, then you can still put a trencher or something a bit further out. Because right. it's a range issue, that one. It's not about what's the weakest, it's the furthest thing away. So you should still be okay. Should still be okay. Unless it does multiples and somebody puts, God forsend, priority targeting on their OP as well, which I don't think you can do. I don't think it works that way, to be honest. But no, in fact, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah, I wouldn't sort of go in there expecting...
like I said, people need to be cautious
because the way kicks works.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't trust them as far as I can kick them.
Well, that's true. A few weeks we'll be finding out. We'll have a chance to try it, I'm sure.
No, they don't want us to use those ships anymore, so they will do all they can, to make sure that we don't.
Yeah, well, again, that's because people are bloody doing it for cheap.
But I don't think it's that. It's about that they don't have to change the mechanics of the game. They don't have to put new land tiles in with it, which means they don't have to redesign the whole web page because, we're virtually at the maximum now, at 100% refresh rate, at zoom rate at 100%. We are scoped right out now all the way around the web page, aren't we? So they'd have to scale things down or scale things out or do something completely different.
Can you explain what you mean by the web page? Because I'm a little confused by that.
Yes. So going back to, this is going back a long time when we used to do lots of previews and chatting to CMs, that sort of stuff.
Should I explain what I think you're trying to say, or go?
Yeah, so the generic of a 1080p monitor, basically, whether it be a 24-inch monitor or a 27-inch monitor, it doesn't matter what it is, but the generic diamond formation they've created, when you go into base plan, it actually fills your whole screen. It basically touches all the sides, even when you're zoomed out. So if they were to increase the land space even further, it wouldn't actually work and fit, and they'd have to reconfigure everything, which would be quite complex. I'm no web designer or stuff, but I do remember that, a couple of individuals, and it was God, yeah, probably a couple of years ago anyway. I can't remember. But they did say, it's not just a case of adding more land tiles, because actually where they designed the code for the to be uploaded, it would change.
Okay, you're a little.
You're fading in and out.
Yeah, it's difficult to.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
No, you sound better now, but yeah, it's at that point you were not.
I hope my internet service isn't updating itself. Let's have a little look over the shoulder. No, it's okay.
No, you're working well now. So.
Okay, so it's a cross between the dynamics of how the coding would upload it and then visualize itself on your computer screen at 1080p. And the standard 24-inch monitor that most people have. Some have much bigger, obviously, but the standard, and they would have to completely change the way it's uploaded, basically, because it wouldn't. If we were to increase the footprint in the base planet even more by giving us more tiles, increasing the diamond shape, basically, it would mess the game considerably. So they were doing anything they could, but to allow that to happen, and cutting off the mask list is probably one of the best ways of doing it.
Okay. All right.
And that's as technical as I get. Sorry, but that's it.
That's all good. I'm just trying to figure out how to. KB, you came late to the show. Is there anything else that you want to add in as far as?
No, not really.
Okay.
There wasn't anything else that you haven't pretty much covered.
Did you have any issues with the way that we tried to explain the priority targeting? Did you have questions, or did you want to add, or whatever?
No, I think you covered it off pretty well. A lot better than what Kix did.
Well, that's not hard, but yeah.
Well, that's the issue with a lot of the stuff they do, isn't it? They might have their own in-house terms that don't quite fit with what the player base understands.
I call that groupthink. That they all sit around and like, okay, threat's a word, and but the players don't know what threat is, and so it's groupthink is it's a big thing as far as a lot of corporations where they all agree on words, they all agree on what's actually happening. So no, I mean, yeah, I throw that in the groupthink category.
Well, it's a bit like corporate speak. They use terms just to make themselves sound important that could be said with a lot of easier words.
But don't you think, going back to what you were saying earlier, Hefe, that to try to explain that should have a separate post in its own right. The whole thing should have a separate post with a good demonstration of what it is actually doing, how it's a couple of visuals maybe, and that sort of stuff. To try and put that into two very small paragraphs, it was always going to be confusing. And,
well, it didn't need to. It didn't always need to be confusing, but yeah,
there's not enough information into there for average Joe to go, oh, I know what that means. Because they're also using terminology that we don't utilize, don't recognize, sorry.
It probably should have been a game designer post.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Right from the source.
It was a GD diary type of thing, is what I thought.
Yeah.
The way it should have gone. That way they could have explained what some of the details were, because again, threat was not a word in our game.
No, saying I'm going to flatten you or make you into a golf course, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, people have been threatened, but threat was not considered one of the aspects of the mechanics of the game. And prior to this release,
it's a term that's never been used in
apart from a
relation
sector
to
threat,
how the game works.
Sector threat's the only thing I can think of when it goes from, orange up to, from yellow to orange and that sort of stuff, and back to green. That's the only thing. So the threat is in the bottom corner on your radar, yes, but that just means you can hit more targets. The word threat doesn't come into it. We don't care about that. It just means you're at sector this color or that color.
It's a different threat. It's not the same.
Yeah, so that's the only threat that the player automatically thinks about, sector threat.
Yeah.
The threat for the sector is less because we killed some 200 targets. No, they're just opening gambit things so we can get on and do some other things like hit SSRBs. It's not actually a threat; it's a means to an ends.
Because when I heard the word threat, when I saw the word threat, I was looking around. I'm like, okay, does this mean if I have a ship that just has Thud ones on it, and it comes up to something, it's not going to fire at the Thud 1 ship. It's going to fire at another ship, or another ship that just has countermeasures. Is it just going to fire at these other ships because it doesn't consider it a threat? I was quite confused because I went, I thought about it more broadly, if that makes sense. That
does.
If these things could be included in the definition of threat, and that's where I had an issue with the fact that we'd never seen the word before inside of the blueprints or the stat blocks, and I was not personally happy with that, the way it was presented.
Yeah, like I said, a visual, a chart to say, this is moved to the top in priority order. This is now goes down to the bottom. So take it in this order when you do your planning would have been a much better way of doing it, I think so.
But yeah, words of the English language having different meanings depending on the situation, how they're used, personal interpretation. Boy, it sure helps if there's a dictionary that defines things and stuff like this.
Yes, I concur. All
right. Is there anything left for the live show, or should we can move on to the after show at this point?
We're done here.
I think we're done live show wise.
Mission accomplished. So we will see you all on Friday, and we'll know a little bit more about the spring fling and everything else involved with it, and see if we actually have skins associated with the reclaimer, the current chip in the game, or are we getting are we dressing up I'm not saying we're dressing up our grandmother, because that sounds wrong, but it's sort of what we're doing, right?
Lipstick on pigs.
I'm not commenting on that at all.
But did you have a better analogy than mine?
No comment.
I said lipstick on pigs.
Yes, but yours is more insulting than mine. So I do understand what you're saying, and I do agree with it, but I don't understand why we're getting the Ronin as the pride and joy of the skin.
Art department.
Yeah. So
I've already got skins for the Ronin anyway.
Yeah. That's part
Thank
of
you, Lego.
So, yeah. Thanks, Lego. And I'm going to post the link in case anybody wants to join the after show one last time. Go ahead.
Just having a look. There's half a dozen. 1, 2, 3. There's about 6 skins for the Buddy Ronin already anyway. So what do you really need more for?
Because they don't have any for the reclaimer is sort of what I'm throwing out there, but we don't know. We'll know tomorrow, and then we'll talk about it on Friday. And thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll talk to you on Friday. And Derpy's okay. He's just
getting milked.
Or his neighbor got some sort of keto thing where he only needs to eat meat. Or he got hired by Chick-fil-A to eat more chicken, I have no idea, but in reality, he has a college course that interferes with his time, so he's okay, and he will be back on Friday in case anybody's worried at all. So, later, people, and we will talk to you on Friday.
Later. Stay safe.